In today's video, I am going to show you how I created graphics like these and graphics like these, and I'm not even a graphic designer. Right, so we're going to go through this first one that you saw. I'm just gonna go layer by layer and sort of walk you through my process and honestly how simple and how easily you can learn this. Okay, so first things first, how do I even think of a design for this, right? In my early days, I really didn't have all that many ideas that were my own. So honestly, what I did to practice and sort of get the feel of what a graphic would look like is I would just go out, find a graphic I enjoyed or liked, and then just replicated it. So for this meet day graphic, I started with just a black background. The vibe I was going for was some smoky, almost neon lights with the logo. And so that's kind of what I started with. I started with just a big cloud of smoke, and then I put that logo in. And then with the logo, as you can see, it has an outer glow effect. So originally, it was just a logo, right? I put that outer glow effect. It just gives it more of a neon look in a way. And you'll see once everything kind of goes together, how good that goes. And so now I put in the first character. And so this person is going to be sort of I call it the moody, emotional, super cool looking pose, right? I feel like a lot of graphics will have some sort of emotion portrayed or maybe looking away or someone's back. That looks sick for a background character. And then in the foreground, you can have someone do an act in action, or it could be someone else, but that's usually kind of what I go for. All right, and so the photo I used was this one. His name is Bradley. He's on the track team. I mean, come on. That looks like a graphic. That pose looks like it could be in a graphic. So we went for it. And as you can see, I cut him out, and then I went ahead and added a mask. And then as you can see, I just kind of brushed away part of his lower body. So it's kind of just his upper chest. And so now right away, you can already see he's gonna be that background character, that moody character, but we need something better. Because we have a black background, I'm gonna actually make him almost part of the background as well. We're gonna make him black and white. So we added a hue and saturation layer, and then I wanted to just boost it and make it sort of way more moody. So we added a curves layer adjustment. And as you can see, we kind of brought up the mids a little bit, so his face was a lot brighter. We brought up the highlights just a little bit, not too much, and then definitely brought up the blacks because they were down here. So we want to see a little bit of his hair, so that's where that stands. All right, and then on top of that, because we want him to fade sort of with the background, we added a black, just a brush layer. So I'm going to turn that on. As you can see, it doesn't look great right now, but once we add in the other elements, he'll kind of just sink in towards the back. And then lastly for him, we got the purple layer, which when I turn this on, you'll see exactly what it's doing, and I'll explain it. And here you have it. Both of these are attached to him. So if you were to unattach these, right, it's all over the entire image. But once you attach it to the whole row, as you can see, to him, it is only attached to him, which is super cool. And this purple glow, I put it as a color blend. This is what it would look like normally. Doesn't look great, to be honest. So put it as a color blend, so it kind of sinks into his hair, into his body, his skin. And it kind of looks like that glow in the background with the logo is actually on him. That's the main effect. That gives it that sort of glues the composition more together. It looks like it's meant to be there. All right, the focus next is to try to get the main character to also stand out. So what I loved from, I don't know where it was from, but a graphic that I saw was this or almost beam of light with a few smoke trails and stuff. So I just went and made an ellipse. I made an ellipse. As you can see, it started purple, and then I didn't like it that it was purple, so I changed it to white. So that's literally the base of it. And then I found this super easy layer. Here, yeah, literally this is a PNG I found on Google, and I put it in. All right, and then it looked like the PNG had a bit of gray in there, so I just made it all white, and since it was a PNG, it worked out. So now that we have that, that looks sick already. All right, and then we're gonna jump up here to the next character, and this one, I love to make it a full body. You can make it a half, or if you don't have a full body shot of someone doing their sport, you can make it half, but it doesn't look as good. So we're gonna have this. I cut her out of the scene. Let's see if I can disable this. So this was the scene originally. I cut her out, and so now we're left with this. And little side note, this is one of the most important things, and one of the things I check almost every time with graphics is make sure your layers, make sure your masks are perfect. Because sometimes, right, it's gonna look like this, where you have like little things poking out, and like, obviously this is like over exaggerated, but like, you're gonna have weird little things poking out, and then you're like, okay, something looks a little bit off, it looks a little bit low quality. So please make sure you refine your masks. The select subject works pretty well, but then please just go through and make sure everything looks good. And so now I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, the colors are not working too well. She's very saturated. It doesn't really work well with the background. So I'm gonna desaturate her. I'm gonna kind of make it a little bit more moody to sort of mix the whole vibe together. And so that's exactly what I did. All right, so we started with the curves adjustment to sort of just bring everything down to the same level. I don't know why, but I guess I added a color lookup. And these things are super fun. You can just kind of choose any of these. And this one I felt like it worked pretty well. It's at a pretty low opacity, so you can't really notice it, but it is a little bit more like blue. It adds the temperature a little bit more blue. And then this is the main thing. We added a hue saturation to sort of desaturate everything. And with that blends so much better. The purple still stands out. There's still a little bit of color. And now obviously it's a little bit dark, so we added a brightness layer, and there we go. That's literally perfect. All right, now the same thing that we did with the background character, we're gonna do with her. And as you can see, she's standing on a beam of light. So there should be some light that hits her and honestly is almost surrounding her. So that is what this layer is. And as you can see, it's a super simple, just a white brush. Get a white brush, send the hardness all the way to 0, and then just make it big enough. I go probably about there. Yeah, and then I start my brush outwards. Because the layer is attached to the person, if I start brushing up here, you're not gonna see it, which is fine. So I start out here, I slowly work my way in until I start to see it appear on her skin. So it's there, yep, and it's just ever so slightly. I don't wanna go all the way like that. It doesn't look that great. I'm just trying to hit the outsides because that's kind of what the light would do. And then here we go. That was a little bit too much. So I'm gonna redo that, make the circle a little bit smaller, and just kind of, get the inside just a little bit, just so it blends in a little bit more. Literally like that. That blends in that massive beam of light and the character. All right, and so now, bro, this is looking sick. The next thing I did is I just added a little bit more smoke and atmosphere to sort of bring everything together. And so that's what these are. I'm gonna just turn them all on. And originally these are all just white smoke. I turned them black because we have a black background. It looks better, come on. And that's pretty much it for the design. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the text in. And you can do a few things. You can put the text maybe behind the background character. You can put it down here. You can put it along the side. For this one, obviously it looks best right in the center. So that's what I did. So that's this one right here. And I'll walk you through this one right away because as you can see, it looks like, it's coming through the person, which is weird. This is all I did for the text. I'm gonna turn this off. We're gonna just do it right now. I'm gonna type in meet day. Okay, where did this text go? Of course, all the way down there. All right, now it's way too long. It's way too big. So I'm gonna send all of these letters way closer together, something like that. And then since it's still just sort of outside, I want the M right there, and then we're gonna bring this in about right there. Yeah, something like that. I think I used a different font, but this will show you what the effect is that I got. So now that we have this, I am actually gonna change the colors. And so I'm gonna add a stroke, and I'm gonna change the color. It can be anything. I'm just gonna, let's do orange. Great. Make sure the stroke is how big you want it. Like you can go out here if you want it a little bit thicker. I think I just went for 4 pixels. We're gonna stick with that. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go down here and you're going to convert it to a smart object. What that'll do is allow you to just erase all of the orange. So I went over here, clicked the magic eraser, which just erases all of one color. Click yes to that, and then boom, 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 boom. Just like that. Let's see how close it was to the one that we had. Yeah, so it just looks like it was a different font. Literally it's the same effect. Another little tip for designs is try to make the texts different in some way. Keep the font, yes, but if you can change the boldness or you can change the size or you can change, stuff like that, that'll just make everything kind of look better. It looks really crappy when you just have a line of text. Now that we have this, we're gonna put what the meat is. This was for NAIA, the national meet. So I'm gonna just put it above the meet day. So literally that's all I did. I think it's a thin font, and I just stretched it out to make sure that it fit from the edge of the M to the edge of the Y. And then a little bit extra work that I put in was I just put what day it is, because there was 3 days. Normally this would be fine if it was like a 1-day meet, but there was 3 days, so we just kind of put the day 3 tag at the bottom. That way I can replicate this for all 3 of the graphics that I made that were basically the same design. All right, and so now I wanted to put the Taylor track and field somewhere to showcase like that's who this is for, obviously. So I went ahead and put the Taylor track and field, but as you can see, it's kind of hard to read. So something I did, I just added a layer and then brushed in a little bit of black with the lowest setting of hardness. And that immediately just allows you to read that text way better. Doesn't really take away from any of the design. And if anything, it sort of hides the character's foot. Like if you had something that you couldn't erase, that helps you out. And now we're just kind of adding elements here and there that will just, I don't know, make it a little bit cooler. So, you know, I added the NAIA symbol to the left. If you wanted to, you could add all the info. You could add like the start time. You could add what events that your athletes are running. Something I made last year was this little logo thing. So it's indoor, so I just put indoor track and field in the inside. For outdoor, I put the outdoor. So it's just kind of like, it looks nice. And that's basically it. As soon as you have the design, you kind of just swap the characters. It doesn't have to be a runner. I put a pole vaulter in there. If you have a thrower, that would look sick. And I will say, right before we move on to the next graphic, one of the most important things about these graphics, obviously the design does carry quite a bit of it, but I would say far and beyond, good photos. And by good photos, I mean high quality. Please make sure they're not blurry or out of focus. That just won't work. So high quality, and also I love shooting emotion. Sports is one of the easiest ways to do that. Just make sure that if you're shooting these photos, make sure you're shooting right before the event and right after the event. Sure, you can get emotion in the moment, but it almost just makes it more raw, more powerful. If you get a shot after someone does something cool in their sport, you get that shot, put it into the graphic. Oh my goodness, that'll look sick. All right, and so for the second one, which you guys voted on, we're gonna go quite a bit quicker. And if you need to pause, or honestly, if you need to comment on something that I didn't explain too well, comment it down below. But here we go. To start off, for the background, I actually used the track that the Nationals was at. This is IWU's track where Nationals was held. So what we have here is basically the track. We've made it black and white, lowered the opacity to a little bit, and then kind of faded it down because we're gonna add other elements above it. This graphic is for All-American, so we put an All-American flag up on top. Come on now. Pretty cool flag, honestly, and we kind of did the same thing. We lowered the opacity, made it black and white, and then again, this is why high quality photos is going to help your graphics so much. We have this one of her racing that we're gonna use part of the background as well. That is a sick shot just alone. Not even for the graphic, it just works really well. But we're gonna put that in the background, and then we're basically just gonna cover all that up with the Taylor purple. So this one is, we put it as a hard light mix. It's basically just a purple layer, put it as a hard light, and boom, that's our background. So I first went ahead and did the All-American. We're gonna put that up top, and I'm gonna break this down real quick. What I first did is added an inner shadow. We sort of had it coming down the left, because then we also added a gradient for the overlay. We're gonna keep it white, but we're just gonna go from gray to white, and that kind of just gives it a little bit more depth. So now that we have sort of like a 3D text, now it does look like it's sort of sinking away, so we're gonna add a little bit of a stroke to sort of bring it back to the top. Just, it's a little bit more flashy, and then to end it and kind of bring it to the top of the graphic, we added a drop shadow. Next, I'm gonna add our person's name, and we have Anna Nidak here, and that is going to go to the bottom to sort of contrast the All-American. So we have an important text at the top, important text at the bottom, and then we're gonna add her in. And for these, I didn't actually use any sort of action shots. I literally just took a media day shot. That's also why media day are so important. So as you can see, I sort of blended in the bottom of her, so it's kind of coming almost out of her name in a way. And we did that also so we could add text to the bottom, and that's where I put in her event, her time, and her place. She got runner-up, which is she was so close to getting that national championship. But something super easy with these texts you can do to sort of break them up. I use the long lines. It's right below the delete button. Those kind of break it up and you can put multiple different things. So like I did, you can put their place, time, their event, and it looks clean. Right, and so now most people would be like, okay, you know, it's looking pretty good. I just sort of felt like the top of it, the All-American, something was missing. I needed something. So what I went and did is I took her last name, duplicated it, and then sort of just brought it up and put it underneath that All-American, where I got rid of the inside color of those letters and then just had the stroke left over. And then I did actually, if you can see, I put a little bit of motion blur horizontally, which kind of just made it look cooler, honestly. So, you know, if you're looking to like add something and you don't know what to add, their last name is usually a good bet. Yeah, and then I guess from there, she did get runner-up. So I did actually I added in some silver confetti just to, you know, give her a little bit more than the other people. And then again, like the other one, we added in the NAIA symbol. And again, this graphic would low-key suck if the photos were tracked. Don't come to me saying my graphic doesn't work and I go look at the graphic and your photos are terrible or they're horribly cut out. I'm gonna just tell you, get better photos, do better masks. But that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Might have been a little bit of a long one, but you know, if you stuck around, obviously you were here for the tutorial. So I appreciate that. Thanks for everyone who went on my Instagram and voted on which ones you wanted to see a tutorial of. But that's gonna do it for this video. Very different from my normal content, but I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, honestly, and peace.